Hello everyone, this is Extreme Trail Talk. I'm Arnold Geerdts, your host. This is episode 3, and in this particular episode we take a look at the Kalahari Augrabies Extreme Marathon and the packs that you'll use. Hydration, where do you keep the bottles, and what's it like in the overnight camps, and a lot more. We also congratulate 3 of our previous finishers of the KAEM as they completed the Munga just this weekend. That's all coming up right here on Extreme Trail Talk. We want you to stay right where you are. Let me introduce my in-studio guests to you. Closest to me, a professional cyclist for 9 years, and she's completed 3 of the Kalahari Augrabies Extreme Marathons. Altie Clark finishes in 2014, 15 and 16, a 2nd place and a 4th place in the women's category. Altie, so nice to have you with us. Welcome on the show. Good to have you with us. And furthest away from me, Mich du Plessis, who's completed 1 KAEM in 2017 and 11th place, but has also run since the late 70s and completed 13 comrades. He's got an extremely interesting story to tell us as well. Mich, welcome to you as well. Let's, before we do anything else though, just congratulate the finishers of the Munga over the weekend. And it was a big hats off to Richard Shannon, René Volgraaf and Stefan Miller, who completed the Munga. They, of course, are runners that have staked their claim at the Kalahari Augrabies Extreme Marathon. And you would have seen that René was one of our in-studio guests in one of the first programs of Extreme Trail Talk. To all 3 of you, well done. We are extremely proud of you. Looking forward to seeing you at the KAEM in October. Altie, let's start off with you, and this time we're talking about the packs that we use, and it's a science, it's a technology these days that I think is very interesting. Pack weights should be between 8 to 12 kilograms and preferably as light as possible. With this in mind, what do you recommend for someone who's taking on the race like you are again this year?
I think it's very important to actually try and go as light as possible within reason. You know, don't leave important stuff behind. The first year I did it, my bag was quite heavy. It was about 11 kilograms. And then the next... In
retrospect, was it too heavy for you?
For me, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Because if you think, like what I weigh, I always think if you can get your bag within like close to 10% of your body weight.
That's interesting.
Like if you're very light... If you weigh 50 kilograms and your bag weighs 10 kilograms, it's 20% of your body weight. So luckily, I don't weigh that little. But so the second year I went, I really took only what I needed. I left behind GPS stuff. I didn't take a phone. I didn't take any cables. And then my bag weighed dry 6.8 kilograms, which is actually awesome. And I had a very good year. The year after that, I actually... decided I didn't want to sleep so cold, so I took a sleeping bag. The year in 2015, I didn't take a sleeping bag.
In your full glory.
Back when I was still a little bit faster. But yeah, I think it's very important to take everything you need, but don't take unnecessary stuff. Don't skimp on food. Like my food weighs about 4.5 kilograms, you know, and yeah. So
be cautious.
Yeah.
Mich, how do you see it? How do you work it out for yourself?
More or less the same. Fortunately, during the scrutiny, I took a bit extra. I went to the High Performance Center. I went through my diet with me to ensure that all the relations between carbs and the others were correct. But then I sneaked in an additional bar here and there. And then, fortunately, they told me, leave out. And I was very thankful because dry weight was about 10 Ks, and I think it's still a bit too much for that race. The first day you don't feel the weight, but as from the second day you feel, and you only can eat so much.
I equate it to the miles. You don't feel it in the first 10 Ks of a marathon. You don't feel it in the first day here, but it loads up and it loads up and it loads up. There is full of smiles finishing that particular shift, but it's exactly the same thing, isn't it? So you've really got to be very, very clever about what you take and what you don't take.
Yes. And also to take the right food. To not only carbs, but to have enough protein and fat also to support your muscles for the following days as well.
How do you decide what the right backpack is? Because there's different type of pack weights in the bags that are available in the packs. What do you take?
Well, when I decided to do this race, I went and I looked at what the best runners are running with, and quite a few people recommended Raylite to me.
Okay.
And back then you didn't get it in South Africa. It's available here now. So my first bag I imported because it's it's a very light bag, so you don't have to carry along a whole lot of weight.
And for you, Meth?
I also ran with Raylite, the 30 litres. Some people said it was too big. You will take too much equipment and food with you, but I've found it quite well. There's also the first ascent alternative, more or less the same. The little bag configuration is a bit different, but I suppose it's about personal preference and how it fits your body, and it should be comfortable to
Show
run
us
with.
one or two of the bags that you guys have got and that you've used in the past or that you are planning to use. So you've got the first ascent there,
This
Meth?
is the first ascent. It provides 4 water bottles on the side. This is a 25 litres one. It sits quite comfortable on your back, the way it straps around your body so it doesn't bump. For me, the disadvantage for bottles on your side, it's easy to take it out,
Yeah.
but to put it back, especially when you get tired.
Yeah.
So then I actually ran with the Raylite one with the water bottles on your front, on your straps. You can put separate water bottles on this one as well, but I suppose it's a personal choice.
Of course. Alti, yours?
This specific bag I did 3 Kalaharis in. It's only a 12-litre bag, but that's actually a little bit deceiving because you really can get 7 days worth of stuff in. You just have to plan very carefully. And I really...
How often do women get to pack properly? Or they have to in this case?
Well, the first year I didn't pack properly at all. I packed horribly. No, it's and what I like about this bag a lot is it's got a lot of like little pockets. So
Let's
if you
turn that one to camera so folks can see that in the front.
So if you, this is now in the front. This is where your bottle goes in, and there's lots of little. So here you can put like bars, and here you can put. And I don't run with the GPS one up, so I put my watch in here. If you're training, you can put your phone in one of these pockets, and if you run with trekking poles, you can put your poles in front here. And what I love about bottles in front is if you see your checkpoint coming, you can unscrew the tops and you can put your stuff in so long, and when you get to the water table you can just fill your bottles and close them and carry on. It's not, I don't like bladders at all, but this bag you can put a bladder in.
I see that at the back. So just let's turn that around for a second, because you can then fit your bladder if you should want to.
There's so many. So even though it's only a 12-litre pack, it does extend. And if I actually this specific bag I ran like 1,500 kilometers, and you can also do short training runs with it. You just pull it in. But like for the Kalahari, you really you take socks, all kinds of stuff, and you can shove stuff in everywhere. So yeah, I love this bag. I will never run with anything
What's also
else.
available is the front pouch.
Yeah.
Adds about 5 litres more.
Yes. Yeah.
I used it to put my snacks for the day in there, so you can snack on your food while on the run. It's not necessary to stop to take off your bag.
And that specific front thing has got like a little plastic where you can put your map in, and it doesn't get wet. And
let's talk about sleeping bags and mattresses, because that's an important part that people miss if you don't take part in this kind of thing. We've got a before and after here, which I think is quite interesting. Let's start off with a sleeping bag. So that's what it looks like before the time, and it's rather massive. But there is the sleeping bag, and there is the ground sail packed properly as you would put it in your bag. Obviously a huge difference, but you have to know how to roll this up properly, because you've got to do this every day for 7 days, quite clearly. Okay, how do you practice? Is that something you practice before the time?
Yes, I believe in to use your stuff beforehand, to get comfortable with it, so there isn't any surprises. during the race itself, that you know where everything fits in. When you look for something, you can reach and find it.
And then the mattress over there. Sorry, Alti, I want to listen to what you say about that as well. Go ahead.
Well, okay, yeah, me gaan eerst.
Yeah, for me, the mattress, it's a luxury, but I like to sleep well. Because after a good night's rest, the next day is easier. So for me, the mattress is not only for comfort, it also isolates you from the cold.
Okay. What did you use as a mattress?
The first year I used the foam mattress that I rolled up, and then the next year, how I went from a 10 kilogram bag to a 6.8 kilogram bag, I slept on a windscreen visor.
A windscreen visor.
Yeah, and that weighs nothing.
Did that keep the
also
the
just
cold
for
out?
isolation. So
okay.
because like I feel I'm uncomfortable if I'm on a piece of foam or a visor, it's uncomfortable. And the first year I took a sleeping bag. The next year I took 2 sleeping bag liners, which is very light, but it's very cold. So the people that are considering doing that, you're really going to sleep cold. It's
and that's not ideal.
It's not nice.
Now, on the Kalahari, they provide under the gazebos shade cloth. So at least you do not sleep in the sand. But for me, it's a bit more comfortable to have that little cushioning.
There's a huge difference between an adventure racing pack and a normal hiking pack. You can't really run with a hiking pack, can you? As we see there, that was one of the overnight spots, and I think that may have been the rest day spot as well. What is the difference there, and what would you recommend? Racing pack, obviously.
Well, I think if you're going to do the Kalahari, and even if you are hiking, if you're hiking, you're probably going to be out there for much longer. So to have a heavy bag is not going to be nice. So I would still, I think Mick's 30-litre bag is actually, if you're going to hike and you're going to be out there longer and maybe take a bit more food, I would rather go with that than like a heavy, like a traditional hiking bag.
And for me, the actual running bag sits higher on your back. So if it rubs, it doesn't shave your around your hips. It's a bit more weight on your shoulders, but if you can alternate the weight between your hips and your shoulders, it was quite comfortable.
Makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about the water bottles. Some people prefer to have them at the back or have a bladder at the back, and some in the front. I presume that both of you, from what I deduct, like the bottles in the front. Why?
For me, it was more comfortable especially when you get tired. You don't want to look for where's the tube, and you can just turn your head and drink from the water bottle. And it's also easy when you arrive at the water points to fill it up.
As we see there now.
Yeah, there's Kim, she had to take off a bag and fill a bladder at every water point. It went quite well, but I prefer the water bottle.
If you looked at the shot of Kim's bladder, the reason I also don't like bladders is sometimes little things get stuck in the corners and that can make you sick, and also that they get punctured, they pop, and also, like Mick said, like the bottle in front. What I love about these bottles, if you're really tired, you just bite the little thing and you squeeze the bottle, and it's in your mouth.
Squirts, yeah.
And it's those bottles can't break on the race. They can't puncture.
And with my bottles, I filled the one with my energy drink, and the other one was just pure water. So I alternated between them. In a bladder, I suppose you can only fill it with either one or the other.
The statistician in me wants to know, is it a 50-50 split between people who have bottles in the front and the back, or what is the normal preference?
I think a race like Kalahari, Marathon des Sables, any Racing the Planet, the people have the bottles in front.
Mostly. Good. Okay, so we've sorted that one out. Sleeping gear we've spoken about, and the sleeping bags, but it's obviously a weight consideration too. Now, it can get very cold. When you get to making the choice about the sleeping bag, because there's different strengths, if you like, of sleeping bags and ice. How do you make your decision there?
Well, I went for a down one. Eventually, it weighed only 320 grams, but during the early part of the night, it was warm. But I added another zip at the bottom to regulate the temperature. But as from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock, it was quite cold during night time.
Alti, for you?
like I said, the first year and the third year, I had the same sleeping bag. And it's actually, it does get very cold, and you don't really want to be open because there's lots of hojas and stuff that run over you.
And the other thing is your body uses energy to warm you up that you need for the next day's racing. Let's be honest, you want to save all you can.
It really gets cold at night. And I really like sleeping out, so not under the gazebos, like sleeping like a little bit off. And then if you unprotected, it's unpleasant. Yeah.
And with last year's Kalahari, on the long day we had rain. Nobody expected the rain, and I appreciated my warm sleeping bag that night.
It never rained in the Kalahari.
Yeah, it never rains in the Kalahari. I know of a race a few years ago where it rained 3 days in a row. So,
2014.
Yeah, there you go. Which you ran, obviously. Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second, because here's the one thing that I think, and I battle to get my head around as someone who's not been there and doesn't really know. You've got to be prepared for all situations. In that particular situation where it did rain and where it rained 3 days in a row, which it really does, but who knows, you've got to be able to adjust to just about everything. There we had a very quick look at running through water, for instance. How do you make sure that you packed for that? For instance, on a rainy day, because now you're in trouble, aren't you?
I think that's the importance of compulsory gear. People look at it as unnecessary weight, but fortunately I packed in a very lightweight
poncho.
Poncho, and that I managed to put on that night, and that kept me warm.
There we go. There's some of the pictures from, I think it was last year. And the interesting thing is it obviously came down quite a while. It was hard, and then also it sifted down at one stage. And that's the mean stuff, because that gets into everything, doesn't it?
And then one tends to get cold. That drains your energy.
How do you prepare for that?
Well, I never thought it was going to rain. I do take a rain jacket with me, but something that for me, when it's raining in the Kalahari, that's very unexpected. It gets so humid. Like when it's finished raining and the next day it's 36, 38 degrees, and then that is very difficult there. If it's really hot and it rained, and then the next day, that's a killer. The dry heat is usually it's difficult, but then if it rained and it's humid, for me that's very difficult.
The other interesting thing for me, and it also comes down to having to save weight and making sure that you don't do too much in your pack, yet look after yourself, is you've got to cover up a lot to stay away and out of the sun, isn't it? That's one of the other difficult things about the race.
I took one of the long sleeve shirts that they use at the MDS. It looks funny to run in summer in a long sleeve, but it works almost like a radiator. When you sweat, it evaporates, and that kept me cool and out of the sun.
Yeah, some of the dry fit material, for instance. That type of thing.
I believe in sleeves. So I run with white sleeves, and then I sweat a lot.
Yeah.
So, but even if it's 45 degrees and I have my sleeves on, they cool me down. So it took me a while to get used to it, but I will not run without my sleeves.
The wonderful thing about that is effectively you're actually exaggerating the body's natural process, because sweat is supposed to cool you down.
Yeah.
With the material on you, it actually adds it more of a coolant. So the radiator analogy is lovely. And then for camp and sleeping, do you do anything extra? What else do you do for the camping and the sleeping? Because let's be honest, it's not a fashion parade, eh?
No. I do take a sleeping tablet.
Okay.
Otherwise, I will not sleep.
All right. And clothing-wise for you, Miff?
Well, I took a separate set, at least to sleep in clean clothes, not to spend the whole week in one set of clothes. And I took earbuds with, because my neighbor had a very bad snoring problem.
The last thing you need, eh? This is the overnight camp. And one of the other things I wanted to touch on briefly was you probably only get one opportunity where you are close to the Orange River during the race and where you can wash clothing. So how do you handle that? How many pairs of underpants, underwear do you put in? Bras for the ladies, running bras, etc., etc. The hat that you wear. You don't want something smelly by day 7 that you want to run away from instead of run under, etc., etc. You know?
The first year I did it, I took one set of running kit and one set of camp kit. By the second last day, I was so tired of my running pants that I actually finished the race in my sleeping pants because I could not put it. So the next year,
I'm so sorry we don't have pictures of that.
So the next year I did it. I took 2 sets of running pants and 1 shirt to run in, and then and 5 sets of underwear. And then when I get to the end, I put on the clean pants, I wash the other one, and then I sleep in that one. So then every time I finish, I change my pants.
So there's a system.
Yeah, it's a very, very important system.
And for you, Michael, how did you handle that?
Last year we were fortunate to spend 2 days next to the river. Unfortunately, you can't stay too long in the water, then it's negative for your feet. But I used that opportunity just to rinse my clothes, at least fresh smell the next morning also helps.
So do you take washing powder with?
No, I just
rinse?
Yeah, I use the same soap for everything.
You said something very interesting, and people who don't know will want to ask that question, so I'm asking for them. Why do you want to keep your feet dry? Explain that to us, please.
Your skin softens when you spend too much time in the water. It's a huge temptation in that temperature, but you must just exert that self-discipline to just go in, cool yourself off and get out again.
That's why we saw the pictures of one of the runners lying in the river there with his feet out of the water to make sure that he didn't have them in the water for too long. I find that fascinating. Let's talk about camp itself. We've mentioned a little bit of it though, but what can people expect, those who have not been in an overnight camp like that? What is it like? Give us an insight.
For me, it's very basic, but it's wonderful. It's on a personal level, it's like there's no cell phones, there's no TV, there's no nothing. So, and the kitchen that you see there now is like everybody gets together there because there's really nothing to do. So, you get together, you eat together, but it's not comfortable sleeping, but I love it. Yeah.
Now, for me, it was like arriving at an oasis. When you see those gazebos, you know that's the end of the day, and then to mingle and to exchange what happened during
War
the day.
stories.
Yeah. And last year they introduced some small chairs. That was very comfortable, and I think that encouraged people to mingle around the food
that's
area.
me lying over there. I was
Oh, there you go.
depressed.
Those were the sleeping pants. We saw them there. So you had a sneak preview of the sleep pants. Some really interesting pictures here, and what was impressed upon me now with those shots there with the guys washing. Obviously, that is a very important part too, because you've got to make sure that your eating utensils is clean every day. I mean, we were taught that in the army. If you've got a bad stomach, you ain't going anywhere. How serious is that, and how hard do you have to work at
that everybody focused on to ensure that everything remains clean, and fortunately they provided hot water, so at least it's not a survival camp, but you have to look after your personal hygiene.
Micha, I want to talk to you about this incredible trip that you're planning to do, to run right around the perimeter of Lesotho with just a few small bumps in between. There's just not massive mountains or anything. I want to know why you've decided to do that, and how long is it?
Well, I'm fortunate to go on retirement next week, Monday. So it's to celebrate life and also to raise funds for the Vulture project, at least to put something back into nature. We enjoy nature while running, so that's the least that we can do. And it's a challenge for me to see. I'm going to do it solo. So I will have plenty of me time, but I want to start with the roads and finish with the Monty, so I have a time limit to finish in.
How many days is in between?
I hope to finish it within 8 weeks.
Okay, and it's 1,400 Ks, am I
with
right?
all the ups and downs.
Man, oh man. Well, all I can say is I will remember you in my prayers every night. Very briefly, how are you organizing the food that you're going to take
Well,
along?
at this stage, I intend to leave a box of food at the different border posts to pick up there and to stock up and to continue there.
And for someone who's perhaps sitting watching this, lastly, before I turn my attention to the X-Pro, how would you say to someone who's sitting watching there now and going, maybe I should enter Augrabies, maybe I should really seriously consider this? What pushed you to do it, and what would you say to them?
Well, I progressed slowly from road running, comrades, other ultras, and then it's, I wouldn't say one gets bored with tar road, but trail running is completely different. It's a life-changing experience that I would recommend to every person. If you can do the Augrabies, it's a special event. You start off as complete strangers that first day, but last day you are closer than family.
And that's some of the beauty of it as well. So, Mich, best of luck with that. We really will be holding thumbs for you. Alti, from being a professional cyclist for almost a whole decade to this, I mean, it's the opposite side of the scale, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I have to admit, cycling, it was a job. I enjoyed it. I'm quite competitive, so I loved it. But when I retired, I started running, and I just decided I'm never going to try and, because it just takes the joy out of it. And trail running is so special to me. It's actually, some of my best friends I met on the trails, and the most amazing trips I've done was on the trail. So, yeah, running, last year I was sick and I thought I'm going to stop running, I'm going to start cycling again. That lasted about 2 weeks.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, no, running, and especially the Kalahari is such a, like Mich said, it's a life-changing experience. And if you're looking for something epic to do, it will change your life. It's amazing. There's just, yeah.
Very wise words, and probably the reason why you should really consider doing it. Well, Mich, best of luck with that incredible traverse. We hope it goes really well. We hope you're blessed all the way through. Alti, best of luck for number 4. And let's, am I putting pressure on you by saying top step of the podium? No, we're not even going to talk about that. Let's just, don't worry about it. So, to both of you, thanks very much for popping in. We really enjoyed your time here on Extreme Trail Talk. You've been watching Extreme Trail Talk, and we hope that you join us again in 4 weeks' time. In the meantime, I'm Arnold Geerdts saying thanks for watching.